Okay, so all I want to do is just rehash the vocabulary of our chapter. We will do the problems the next time we're together. And if we have to keep moving a test back, we have to keep moving a test back. You don't have to necessarily take notes. You're welcome to take notes. Keep in mind you could watch this video again. But for your Tuesday e-learning assignment, because this is Mondays, because you're here either physically watching or you're watching this video again, this will fulfill Monday. And it's just in your gracious, great nature that you're watching it. I'm not going to give you points for it. Tomorrow's assignment, you would send in a flip grid based on whatever topic I assign you. There's really 3 sections of the chapter. What you should know is the problem-based stuff that the test is real heavy on is the 3rd section. I reviewed the test. The 2 first sections are just vocabulary. Just know the vocabulary of the first 2 sections. The doing of the special journals is what we will focus on when we're together physically again. So just rehash like what an AIS is. Do you guys remember what that stands for? Accounting Information System. Good. And it can be manual or computerized. And it really just boils down to what works best for your business. There's pros and cons of each, if you remember us doing that like 2 weeks ago already. But the name Accounting Information Systems sure sounds automated or computerized. It's not. It's just having a system in place to keep your books organized. Remember, there's 3 principles or concepts that go into making a good accounting information system. It needs to be cost effective, it needs to be useful and flexible. You need to be able to change it if you need to. Whoever is looking at it, it needs to be helpful and useful, and absolutely needs to affect the bottom line with being cost effective. Some computerized ones, there's different softwares out there. That was one of the activities you guys did. You had to look at some online. And then ERP, if you remember, if I recall, even ERP stuff showed up in those lists of online ones available. You can basically get something that's entry level. So now, in other words, like your QuickBooks is probably the most common one. ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, and that's more of like those high level, a lot of people in the business, very customizable, like what a big bank would use. Like a Bremer Bank has a very much a system that's automated for them. Okay. Manual, you know, it's just the pen and paper stuff. It's doing the books by pen and paper. And it's not bad, it's just got to be useful for them. And if you remember, this was your, you guys came up with this list of the pros and cons of those systems. Basically, one's pros would be the other's cons. All you got to know is what AIS stands for, that it's not just exclusively computerized, it can be manual as well. Those 3 components that go into it. Flexible, useful output, and cost effective. And then basically what some examples would be for each. That's what you need to know for the test. You will only be asked like vocabulary type stuff. What questions do you have on those before we go on to the next section? Because this is what we all did together in class a week and a half ago. You're okay? All right, so let's go on to ledgers. Now, if you think about a ledger, I think I've got a picture. Yeah, I thought I drew a picture, but whatever. Ledgers are where you post stuff to. So you're journalizing. Journals are very messy looking in the fact that they're a debit, a credit, date, and then you post to the ledgers. Okay. Those are where the little mini camps are. You know, there's a cash, there's an AR, there's supplies, there's inventory, there's equipment. Those are all, of course, asset ledgers. Well, when you start thinking about accounts receivable, and if you have a lot of customers, you're going to bust that really quickly. It's going to explode at the seams because there's too many customers involved to squeeze it all here. So then instead of having a I shouldn't say instead of. In addition to having what's called a control account or a general ledger for AR, they say, let's have a subsidiary AR ledger, so then we can list out all of our customers as they debit and credit their way through being our customer. Then we tell all those debits and all those credits to just be singular over here in what's called the control account. These two need to match. You know, the debits from the control account need to match the debits in all the individuals. The credits, same thing. But it's just like, you know, even if I think about all of your grades, if you were all in my AR subsidiary ledger, Jen's grades would be something, Riley's grades would be something, and on around the table. And then overall, I could shoot all of those to a control account to say, here's how many A's and B's and C's and D's and F's I have. Okay. Or if you think of this like a tree, you know, you'd have the AR tree with all the little branches. They're still all needing to like work together. It's just that this is a snapshot of all of the individual ARs. We are not going to worry about doing a lot of posting. And so this is where you post. We don't have enough room on the test for points for that. And so just so you can understand the vocabulary and the vernacular that goes with this, you're good. There won't be a problem like this on the test. Now the same thing is true for AP, and I don't even know if I have a picture of an AP. But ARs are, of course, our customers, like who owes us money. APs are who we owe money to. So if you think of a business like Superior, they have a lot of customers and they have a lot of people that they're buying from. Okay, and if there's not cash exchanged for these transactions, rather they're charging it, there's literally a whole AP department and there's literally a whole AR department. AR, yeah, they want to know that we're paying our bills, but their job is to get the ARs to pay us. And the AP's job is to get our bills paid. And when they break it down customer by customer with a control account, it keeps the world spinning as far as the AP and the AR departments. What questions can I answer other than just being able to talk about it? We're not going to do any problems like this. Who can put it in their own words, what I just explained? This was one of your assignments. Nose goes, what is this? What is this? Ben, you're the guy.
So subsidiary
yeah,
are basically like branch off the main one to help like organize or like make up the big one where it's basically all the information added up.
good.
I think of it as little folders for different
Yes.
things.
Preach.
Yeah.
Yeah. The big thing that you need to know though is they are talking to each other. If you'd add up all the debits, it will equal the one control account debit. If you add up all the credits, it will equal the one control account credit. And in an AR world, which one do you want bigger, the debits or the credits? Trick question. Well, you want them to be equal because that means they've paid their bill. As an AR is debited, that means they owe us more money, and as they're credited, that means they're paying their bill. So in the perfect world, they'd be equal because we want them to be paid off in zero. Okay. Oh, the one that we haven't talked about together, and this will be the focus of our chapter. And so these special journals, now let's put the post to these ledgers aside, put that idea away. You have been journalizing since chapter 1, where you list your debit and your credit, your amount, and the date. But the bigger the business and the more volume of transactions, they're saying kind of like those control accounts, that little journal is going to bust at the seam. It's never going to be able to hold all of that. And remember, we need this to be useful for our accounting crew, our accounting department. So although it looks like we're complicating things by having a total of 5 journals, It's actually streamlining it more. Every journal has a job. Every journal has a job. Okay. There are 5. You're going to recognize one of them. You're going to recognize the general journal. And for the first time, the general journal is kind of like the afterthought. Like, meh. It didn't belong in any of these other 4, so then we'll put it in the general journal. So let me walk you through these journal by journal. We're going to start with the cash receipts journal. Where am I here? Ah. Got lost. What I want you to leave here today knowing the job of each of the journals. Starting with the cash receipts. When we receive cash, what's happening usually? There's a transaction, and cash is it debited or credited when we're getting it?
Debit.
Debited. Very good. Money came to us. Okay. So a cash receipts journal only is going to have cash debit. You know how you've always had debit and credit columns, and you have to say who for all of that? In a cash receipts journal, there's only a cash debit column because we're not crediting cash if it's coming to us. We're debiting it. We're getting it. What are people paying us for? They're paying their bills. That means AP is going to go down. There might be a sales discount involved because they paid early. So that's why there's all these columns. Think about another reason people pay us is when they buy stuff from us. So if I'm out selling cupcakes, they're not free. So cash is going to come in. Sales revenue is going to be credited. But then remember that wham bam, those cupcakes weren't free. So then inventory's gone and cost of goods sold goes up. So that's why there's all these columns, because they all have a job. Now, do you notice some of them, and if you have notes in front of you, you can see it a little bit better. Some of them say things like cash debit. Well, if it says cash debit, I don't have to write cash over here because the column heading tells me that. Okay. If it says sales discount debit, I don't have to go write sales discount over here because the heading took care of it. But when I get to something that says AR credit, which one? Ooh. So if you get a real obscure heading here that needs more defining, then when I'm together and I do the lecture with you, I'd actually circle that, draw an arrow, and we put something over here. Because we have to say who, which AR. Was it Billy, was it Bobby, was it Tommy, or Susie that charged it? Okay, and then now paying their bill. So anytime the column heading isn't enough of a label, you have to come over here and say who or what account. Okay. Our next journal that I want to talk about is cash payments. Our previous one, money coming in. If we're paying cash, money's going out. So are we going to see a cash debit or credit column in that case? If money's leaving us. Credit. Now you kind of have the keys to the kingdom because you've got all these headings now, and if it says cash credit, do I need to write cash over here? No, because the column heading took care of it for me. Obscure accounts would be other account debit. Well, that's really obscure. That's not detailed at all. So then I'd have to come over here and say, what other account? Okay. AP debit, do you think that needs a label? Yeah, because which AP, which vendor are we paying off? Inventory credit, does that need one? No, because inventory is inventory. That's what it's labeled as. And then, of course, cash credit. Is it helping to hear this and see it a little bit? Then we have sales journal. The only thing that's happening in the sales journal is when we sell something on account. So any sales on account. Who are we selling to? Customers, ARs. Okay. Well, what about if a customer pays cash? Where would that go? Cash receipts. Very good. So you can sell stuff two ways. You can sell it with cash, but it wouldn't show up here. And this is the most confusing transaction. Because when kids see, oh, we sold something, it's got to go in sales. How did we sell it? On account? Sales is the only thing, you're only going to see sales on account, because if they're paying cash for it, it would be cash receipts. Remember, anytime a number goes in a column that is blatantly obvious, like COGS or inventory, we don't have to explain. But if it's something kind of obscure like other or AR or AP, we have to say who. Last one, purchases. Anytime we purchase on account. Remember, we can purchase two ways, just like we can sell two ways. We can purchase on account, meaning, hey, bill us, send us a bill. Becomes an AP, we owe someone. Or we can buy something with cash, but that wouldn't be in purchases, it would be in cash payments. So do you see how they kind of work together? The purchases is like the cash payments journal. The sales is like the cash receipts journal. It's just how is it being paid for? On account or with cash? General then is everything else. If it doesn't fit in any of the other journals, it would go to general. Adjusting and closing entries would go into the general journal. It's just kind of the place that, kind of like the leftover space. This is the time. We have about 15 minutes. I really like this. This is, of course, me recapping everything. But the cash payments and cash receipts journal are all the cash-based transactions. Sales and purchases on account is the place when cash is not exchanged. And then general is just everything else. And that's the chapter from a vocabulary standpoint. I wanted you to hear it mainly so I could give you treats, mainly so I could hear how things were going. But I wanted to get this information to you so when we are finally back together in our classroom after lunch, just like regular old school, which now we can have appreciation that's not so bad, okay? Then I don't want to have to talk about the talk. I want to walk the walk, and I want to start doing the journalizing of this. Because what you're going to get is, if you think back to our journal entries and you just would go plop them into your general journal, you're going to get a long list of transactions, as Josh mentioned, and we have to decide where's their home. Is it cash receipts, cash payments? Or did we buy something or sell something on account? I think you are going to leave this chapter going, that was one of our easier chapters, even though we were not together for a week and a half. Because I'm going to teach you tricks and triggers. As you look at every single transaction, you're going to go, yep, you can list them by name, which one the stuff belongs in. No, I looked at it today. You could take the essay question.
Problems like with
You are only going to have problems on this stuff. You're going to have a long, well, here, let's look. Chapter 7. You're going to have something like, see these long list of transactions, and you're going to have 5 journals in front of you, and you're going to have to figure out which one they go in. You'll find out that like the number part of it gets kind of, because there's so many columns. But just remember the columns, some of them tell the story, some of them need more story told, and you got to get that account name over there. We are not going to spend time posting to those ledgers. We are not. We're out of time. So what questions can I answer about vocabulary or what's expected of you between now and the next time I see you?
just the flip grid, right?
Flip grid. I will get it ready. I'll get it sent off.
Oh, you just have to know the information and then say it. Yeah.
And if you screw it up or you feel like it's not, you can re-video it.
What we're doing is like.
Right on the little Flipgrid directions, I will list all of your names and what vocabulary term you have to explain in your own words. Emailed to you will be the chapter outline. So because I can't know that all of you have a book or your notes with you, then you can look on there. I have a feeling you're going to be able to say it off the cuff without even looking it up. One thing I'm not going to require you to do is video, like, respond to each other unless you want to. So I'm not going to give you like, you need to speak for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm not going to do that, but it's got to be more than, hi, hey, thanks, bye. I mean, you need to actually, like, do it.
What's up?
Sure, you can be gangster. You could speak in a different language and translate it for us. Some people have been kind of creative. Like, some of my 9th graders have, like, brought in props. Like, I want to study DeWalt because and then he had his DeWalt drill in the. But I will get it posted here this afternoon, so you could do it. Discounts for today. Flipgrid will be tomorrow. I am hopeful we will be together on Wednesday. If not,
Do you think we will?
I'd say there's a 50-50 shot.
Oh, shoot.
What's your guess?
I'm gonna shut the recording off first.